feel like rolling the dice, and it is 2020 after all, the Boeing 737 MAX got it reapproved. We can all get on those flights.
Which do you think you'll die from first? The COVID from all the people on the plane, or the plane itself?
It's a good question. Although and this is probably airline marketing, or maybe not. They do say that the air on the airplanes is actually better than probably what I'm breathing in right now. So
Better.
Forgot to adjust this light.
It's the quality of the air is not really the issue. It's that people are sneezing and
it's
exhaling.
The people.
Yeah, I mean, the confined space thing is the problem. Like, one of the issues we're going to face this winter, because everyone's going back inside, is that you're going to see restaurant volume reduced and then taken away, because that many people that close to each other inside. I don't know. What's worth, think about it. Like, someone in the far corner of a room sneezes, right? And they have COVID. So now COVID's filtering out into the air. So what's better? No filtration at all?
Yeah.
Where that kind of thing gets hang over by that person? Or do you need lots of air circulation where that stuff's just blowing around? I don't know. I literally don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not ignorant on this topic, but
yeah, that's anyways, so if you feel like flying or not flying, I don't know. They say it's safe.
Who would trust this airplane now?
Yeah. I mean, look, out of 300 flights, it nosedived twice. What are the odds it's going to happen again?
Wow.
Well, it's like the old joke. Like, the reason you take a bomb on the plane, because what are the odds that there are 2 bombs on a plane?
Isn't it like the Bill Burr joke about divorce? Like, the divorce rate is 50%. He's like, and it's probably higher than that, but whatever. It's like, so I'm going to jump out of an airplane, and you're telling me that this parachute has a 50% chance of working? Why would I do this? It doesn't make any sense.
Anyways, speaking of smacking the ground, Apple is... I'm curious if you saw the actual stat here on some of this. So Apple is making what appears being the keyword, a big deal of reducing their App Store fees for apps.
It's classic Apple.
Under
$1
million. Yep. You only pay 15%, and then after it's $1 million, it's like a progressive tax rate. The amount,
Which, I'm for that.
Yeah,
progressive tax rates. That's fine.
Yeah, I believe. Actually, I don't even know if that's true. I should take that back. I believe it's the money made after $1 million is then taxed, or
you are correct. That's
at 30% instead of 15%.
Now the thing about that is once you hit the $1 million, if next year you're just taxed, we'll call it at 30%. If next year falls below $1 million, then you can apply to go back to the lower rate. So it's all still tilted in their to their benefit, of course.
And so that sounds great because it impacts 95% of their small
98%. 98% of developers.
But Paul, I have a question for you. I have one simple question. Where does, and I think the fact it was over 90% for sure, but where does 95% of their revenue come from?
The handful of developers who make over $1 million a year, the big guys, EA, Activision, yeah. So that's the central. If you could find out how many developers were in the App Store, you would find out the central lie of the App Store, which is that yes, there is this promise. It's like the American dream. Yeah, it's possible. You could come here in a boat, make a business, make a name for yourself, and become the next, whoever, Warren Buffett or something. But the truth is most people quietly fail. And most developers probably earn nothing, hundreds of dollars, whatever. So, yeah, changing their tax rate from 30 to 15% is a nice public gesture to make. I'm sure it will fool a lot of people. I don't think it's going to fool any antitrust regulators because, most people that look at this that know anything about anything are saying, well, explain to me, MasterCard and Visa have set up these massive payment systems worldwide and they charge 3%. What's the cost here? And we already know from the former, the guy who used to run the App Store, he's like, this thing runs at a huge profit. It's not.
It's probably 99% margin. I bet the margin on this.
Yeah, it is something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So whatever. Look, it's weird. This is one of those divisive issues. Like Apple fans are like, oh, they should just do whatever they want, and if developers don't like it, they don't have to put their apps in the store. And it's like, yeah, that's not how it works. But okay, fine. But anyway, it's a step in the right direction. Their willingness to do this. Well, lack of whatever, their ability to do this, I think is telling. And it shows you, I've said this a lot about these kinds of things. Spotify with Apple, all these complaints against these companies, but Apple in particular. This is what triggers change, right? I know there are a lot of cynical people like, oh, nothing's going to happen, and it's like, yeah, well, actually something is going to happen. So for all the small, it's funny, like you make less than $1 million a year on an app and you're considered a small business.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay. I mean, okay. Well, all these small businesses that are plying away in the App Store, are going to get twice as much. Well, they'll get paid less than half, or they'll pay half in tax.
Yeah.
So that's a significant amount of money for those people that don't make a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's a pretty hefty I think royalty is probably maybe a better word, because like you pay that and then you actually have to pay tax on it. Like it's
right. Well, this is the Apple tax. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's a tax on top of a tax.
Mm-hmm. No taxation without representation, something like that. But
who has representation in the store? I bet it's the big app developers.
Yeah.
How lucky, like seriously, what kind of a roulette wheel do you have to spin to have your app like tick, tick, tick? Oh, you're on the front page.
Yeah.
Apple does that. They've made you rich.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's definitely going to help your sales quite a bit.
Yep.
Oh, here's what they're going to do. They're going to find apps that are at like $900,000, and then they're going to be like, oh, we're going to put them on the front page, push them over $1 million. You're like, gotcha.
It's like you've cut right to the quick of Tim Cook's brain.
Yeah. That would, can you imagine the phone goes like, no, don't put me on the front page. Not until after January.
Yeah. Not until just January 1st. Just give me a month.
Yeah. Oh, it's an interesting tactic. So we will, we'll see what happens there. Things a little closer to home for reasons that I enjoy doing this to myself. So I had a good workflow for like this podcast and all the video that we do. Like I was using Adobe software, and then it crashed on me like 3 days in a row.
Go on.
What? And
I literally was going to just ask you about the video stuff and I assume you were using or were using Photoshop or Premiere Elements or something.
Yeah. And it kept crashing, and I was like, you know what? I think we're done. And so I downloaded DaVinci Resolve, which is a very widely used video editing app. It's actually free. Like they get you basically through the hardware. Because they sell like cameras and encoders, and it's made for quite literally like Hollywood. That's who their target market is. But they have a free iteration called DaVinci Resolve, and it's the same software, just without the hardware components that you'd have to buy from them. And just trying to get used to it. And it's better in every single way. So,
is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually very interesting. Okay.
100%.
Let's look this up. I thought you were going to say you went with whatever the Affinity thing is.
Oh, Affinity doesn't have a video editor yet.
Oh, I thought they did.
Oh, if they do, then maybe I'd be a little more interested in that. But anyways, I'm like halfway down the rabbit hole of DaVinci Resolve, and it's pretty, like if you need a quick, literally anybody listening to this looking for a free video editing software, it's a little overkill if you're just like splicing photos together, like and just doing transitions. It's overkill for that, but like it can definitely be used for that, and it's not that hard to pick up either. So
we really, I mean, not that you would necessarily use this for this, but I mean, we're kind of suffering not having like a movie maker thing anymore,
Yeah, just the basic.
It's kind of simple. Yeah, basic, dissolves and whatnot, transitions.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I decided to do that last night because why not?
I'm curious. I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah.
All right. I was literally just going to ask you this.
What?
About video editing.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. That's DaVinci Resolve. I mean, there is, for people out there, also Premiere Elements, which works, and it's fine. And it's even more basic and holds your hand a bit more than DaVinci will. Absolutely. The problem with it is if you try to, like if you want a tutorial like on YouTube, good luck, because you're going to search Adobe Premiere and then it totally blows anything out of the water. Whereas Resolve, like there's millions of videos. It's very widely used as well. So there you go. And then the other thing that happened yesterday, and actually my brother is buying one of these, and I got to get my hands on it, is Apple's new M1 appears to be pretty legit across the board.
Oh, yeah. Have we not talked about that? I guess we haven't. Not. Yeah. I want to, if I could level set this for a second. You get into like a weird situation, or I do anyway, where I watch that event and I'm like, man, these guys are providing nothing with regards to information. And so I write about that. And then people are like, oh, you just want them to fail, and it's like, no, I I actually kind of want them to succeed. I'm super interested in this topic, you know. But I guess what I want people are like, oh, Windows is dead, you know, the
Mm.
x86 is dead, and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, but I mean, it's not like you're going to buy a new MacBook Air and it's 5 times as fast, right? It's still in the same ballpark, right? It's they've done it, and
Yeah.
this is the thing I wrote 3 years ago when Windows 10 on ARM was sort of an unknown quantity. If that thing is successful, I wrote, it will be boring. You won't even notice you have it, and that's kind of the point. If you put a MacBook Air in front of someone and the old Intel version, well, the old one the fan would start pumping and you could tell. But I mean, the point of this should be that you could just use this stuff and it just works. And
Hmm.
that means everything, compatibility with applications. It means that app launch time should be comparable. I don't think anyone's going to sit down in front of one of these Macs and be like, oh my God, I can't believe how fast apps run. I don't think that's actually how it works. I think they just use it and it's normal. And that's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's
You know?
the
And
whole
it will get
point.
better over time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a tremendous achievement.
yeah, it really is. And then you get better battery life too. It's not like a home run of battery
Yeah,
life, but I mean, seems to be, it's definitely
still better.
improved over
Yeah.
Intel. So,
We'll have to see, yeah, what that looks like. I mean, it's hard to compare Windows to Mac because they are different platforms and they, you know,
mhm.
whatever. But at least in the past, you could kind of say, well, Apple's using standard Intel parts, and so these things are roughly comparable. If you're getting 8 hours of battery life on a Mac and you're getting 8 hours of battery life on a Windows PC, or plus or minus, whatever the differences are, those things are comparable, you know. Now it's a little harder because, you know, these Macs, I don't know what the real world battery life is, but I assume it's, you know, somewhere halfway between the 20 nonsense number and the 10 number. It's still incredible, right? I mean, and I don't, you know, so yeah, I'm gonna have to get one too. I just don't know. I don't know which one to do. I usually go with laptops.
I would
What's
just
your
grab
budget?
that MacBook Air. It's $1,000. Like that seems to be, that's the most popular one. So,
See, I should be able to get at least $500 for that. That would soften the blow nicely. But they won't let me trade it in because it's too new. Anyway, but what's your brother doing? I'm sorry.
he just got the MacBook Air. So he's picking it up today.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, I don't know. It appears to be the real deal, which obviously brings up the question of the Surface Pro X and where's Microsoft in this journey. Obviously, they've been trying for 2012. It's never really quite taken off yet.
That's the thing, though. You know, Apple and Microsoft have probably been trying for the same amount of time. The difference is that Microsoft, I think, came out to market way too early
Hmm.
and, with a product that doesn't have the performance and compatibility that anyone should expect of a computer. You know, a Windows computer in this case. So we can kind of dick around about strategies and whatever,
Hmm.
but it is unless something happens. I mean, look, normal people are going to get this thing Friday. In the coming weeks, we'll know more. We'll know more about real world battery. We'll know more about real world performance. But it appears that they've done that thing that Microsoft has not done, and that should be frustrating to people that prefer Windows over the Mac. You know,
Hmm.
because I wish we had that level of.
Yeah, of it quite literally, I hate to say, but it just working. Although the one thing that was interesting that was pointed out in every review is that the iOS apps on the Mac are a joke because they don't support a touchscreen, and they put this like overlay of like how you can use the mouse. Like it's just Apple needs to just bite the bullet and be like, look, we need a touchscreen because it would make all the iOS apps usable.
This topic. Like, I saw an interview with it was at least Fred.
Craig
What's
Federici, whatever.
yeah, what his name is? Jeez Louise. Anyway, whoever he is, and he was saying, you know, how when the Mac OS Big Sur beta had come out in June or something, people were like, oh, look, they're clearly moving to touch because you know they have the same
Hmm.
control center and the icons are big now, and he's like, we literally never thought about that at all. And it's like,
Yeah.
stop. It's inconceivable. If you never thought about that at all, you should be fired. What are you talking about? Of course you've thought about it.
Instead, they put in the touch bar that does it.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You get trackpad gestures. You've got that stupid touch thing. Just put it where it belongs.
It's okay. They can admit they're wrong. They got rid of Force Touch or whatever on iOS, so they can get rid of the touch bar eventually, I guess.
think they need a specific haptic piece to do long press on
Yeah,
stuff.
that was the worst part of that whole thing that just kind of glossed over.
And you can hold, anything could do long press. Why do you need something hitting you back?
Yeah, they needed a reason to sell phones in that weird year of where they had no idea what to do, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
So, anyways, those are kind of the big highlights of the week, right? I think.
It's been a big couple of days.
Yeah.
Well, there is bigger news, Brad. Much bigger news.
Oh, Pluton?
Um, no, actual big news.
Oh, Pluton's
Getting a
big-ish news
smartphone
eventually.
today.
What?
Getting a new smartphone.
Another one?
Mm-hmm.
What
This
one?
will be my last one of the year,
Lies.
probably. It's gonna be terrible.
Which one is it?
I'm getting a Pixel 4a 5G, and now I know.
Wow,
what you're
that
asking
just
yourself.
rolls right off the acronym tongue right there.
What's best about it is how cleanly it fits into the 2020 lineup. It makes so much sense what they've done this year. You know, you could make a list of 20 features. You just throw them up in the air, let them fall on the floor, put on a blindfold, and pick out 5 of them, and that's how they determine what each of these phones is.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So if you ever feel bad about Microsoft and their inability to compete in a market or whatever, I just, look at Google.
Yeah, their Pixel Book's selling well.
Is it? They still make that? I don't
Maybe
even
they
know.
can put Pluton in Pixel Books. For those who aren't familiar with Pluton is, it's generation, I don't know, 3, I guess, of effectively what a TPM is, or the trusted compute module, or trusted platform module that's in a laptop that they effectively took from Xbox One, not Xbox Series S and X, and it brings it into the CPU. But none of it's available today on laptops because it's coming with the unannounced next generation chips from.
So two things about this that are amazing, right? So TPM dates back to the early 2000s when Longhorn was happening. Every PC maker and chipset maker has embraced it, so it's just a part of PCs now. Big success story. Some people see this and they're like, "Oh, it's like the T2 chip on Apple." It's like, no, the T2 chip is like TPM.
Mm-hmm.
It's a separate chip. This one is integrated into the CPU, and it doesn't matter if the CPU is made by Intel or AMD or Qualcomm. All three have signed on to this. Like they are going to integrate this Microsoft chipset into their chips. That's incredible. It's incredible. And it bypasses an avenue of attack because the TPM is obviously secure, but because it was so secure, hackers turned to the bus between the CPU and the TPM. So now they're going to eliminate the bus. Smart.
Yeah.
It's good.
And it'll be on Qualcomm, Intel, AMD at an unspecified point in the
Next
future.
year. We'll see them next year, I bet.
Yeah. It's supposed to really sort of reduce some of those speculative attacks that really impacted Intel. It feels like last year, I think.
Yeah, like the Meltdown,
Yeah.
whatever the other one was, Spectre Meltdown, I think.
Yeah. Meltdown, x86 ARM, whatever. They're all just sort of.
Enjoy your terrible Windows computer, people.
That's Paul at Thron.com.